Greetings, friends. I'm here with Reverend Jim Polk, the assistant to the bishop here for the Arkansas Annual Conference, and I'm Laura Merrill, your bishop. We are here at the aftermath, during the aftermath of General Conference, where delegates from across the world made some pretty significant decisions about the future of our church. Many of those decisions were intended to increase the local freedom of congregations across the world to minister in their own context in fruitful, faithful ways, but ways that are different from one another. So I want to just remind you, as I said in my last video, that none of those changes has changed the fact that you and the leaders in your congregation remain the people who determine the shape of your ministry. That decision-making and discernment power lies with you and always has, and will continue to do so. But we still know that even in the midst of that, that continuity, that people still have questions about what these decisions will mean for us, and in particular for any one of us in our local setting. Those questions are natural. It's a natural response to this kind of movement. And yet we also know that sometimes it can make us feel better to think that if we nail down all the answers immediately, everything will be okay and nothing will change, or I can feel better about this new time. We are not here to answer those kinds of questions. We're not here to describe the decisions. That information you can find in other places, from United Methodist sources in particular, the kinds of decisions that were made. What we are here to do, though, is to talk about a kind of a different thought, a different approach to this moment, and in particular, a different approach to our questions.
All my life, I've had the privilege of being United Methodist. All my life, I've been proud to be United Methodist. When I was a layperson, whether I was clergy, now on conference staff, I'm still proud to be a United Methodist. All my life, I have had questions. Maybe that's why I was so glad I was United Methodist. This has been a church at every stage of my spiritual journey where I felt freedom to ask questions. And I've felt comfortable around people who challenged me with questions. I haven't agreed all the time. I've never agreed all the time. But I've been in a place where it was okay. After General Conference, like many of you, I had questions, and I still do. But that's a familiar place for me. And I know that I can ask and ponder, and I truly believe differ at times. But here's what I've learned. And here's the decision I've made going forward and offer to you. I'm going to trust. I'm going to trust one another. I'm going to trust my peers, my bishop, my friends. I'm going to trust that inner voice in me, the Spirit of God, to guide me and lead me. And I'm going to respect the people who agree and disagree. And this is hard for any of us. But I want to go forward step by step with humility, trusting that I don't have all the answers, that I may not be right, and I'm probably not all wrong either, because this is how I grow. I've tried to take that to all the churches when I was pastoring, and in the midst of those churches, I was grateful when people wrestled with issues. That's to be United Methodist. when we differed and disagreed and sat on the same pews and the same spots on Sundays. And we're community. And friends, that's where I want to invite you to take time to be still, to sit with one another, your friends, your family, those you've known in many cases for years, generations, and trust one another and respect the differences. Be willing to ask the questions. I don't have the answers. I'm still trying to figure this out. But I'm grateful that I'm in a place where I can step out in faith, learn from one another. I hope you will.
I've been so grateful that for the spirit that Jim has brought to conversations that we've already had here at the conference level, the way he's lifted up scripture and multiple passages where the scriptures admonish us to take care of one another in the midst of whatever it is we do. And so I do believe that this is a time when the way we proceed is as important as any decisions we might make. That our attitude toward one another, toward the people whom God has given us to love in our local settings, is just going to be central to our life of faith and the way we live out that faith in this moment. Just in closing, want to return to the theme scripture of the General Conference this year, which was Psalm 46, verse 10. It's a psalm that we reflected on in our prayers prior to the conference. And it's a psalm that I encourage you to reflect on some more in your own prayer time. Verse 10 says, "Be still and know that I am God." And that those little words, "be still," can mean a lot of things. And we heard many translations across the course of the conference. One of those is "be quiet," "hush your mouth." Listen, right? Stop your movement, stop your spinning, and listen. Know. And how do we listen to one another? How do we listen to God? That's our task in this moment. And I too am proud to be United Methodist. I'm proud to be part of the Arkansas Annual Conference. And I look forward to these questions that we will continue to work through with you. And I look forward to the ministry that I know we will continue to enact in our local levels, all for the glory of God and for the sake of the love of Christ and sharing that love in this world. I give you thanks to God for you, and I ask God to bless you in your work and in your life.